With One Piece hitting over 900 manga chapters and the series as well hitting over 900 episodes, I want to take a look back at One Piece. Now this segment is going to go over East Blue. It'd be fair to say that One Piece is one of the longest running, most cohesive narratives out there right now. It's impressive how much the series has managed to evolve over the course of the past 20-some odd years, constantly building on its history and still widely blowing our expectations out of the water. Yet, so much of what we love about One Piece is actually set up as early as the East Blue Saga. Let's take a look and see what the East Blue Saga does to drive manga readers and anime viewers' expectations for the series. I'll add that I just started rewatching the series and I just got past the Little Garden Saga, and to say the least, this series is doing such a good job, and the comedic value that the old One Piece had, fantastic. I'm laughing more than I remember. But let's talk about how the Blue Saga is setting up the main themes. It's as simple as fairy tale. Bad guy is comically evil and the pure-hearted hero comes in and beats them up. This is One Piece in a nutshell. To achieve this childlike feel, the story perspective never once takes place from Luffy's point of view. He must always be introduced to our new key figure in some bizarre fashion, whether it's bursting out of a barrel that Alvida pirates find drifting at sea, falling out of a bird's mouth because he accidentally got eaten, or bouncing a stray cannonball from his rubber gut into a nearby restaurant. We get an internal dialogue of reactions from other characters, but we only ever see Luffy react. This turns Luffy into a blank slate for the reader to impose a mythic-like quality to his character, as he is the only one without clearly stated motivation. Even in his backstory with Shanks, Shanks is more our focal point than Luffy. Luffy is only there to absorb Shanks' wisdom. He has one goal, to be the Pirate King. Why? Who knows? Yet, for as straightforward as these stories seem, their circumstances never are. There's very little subtlety to the villains of East Blue. They're all self-absorbed, power-obsessed megalomaniacs who love to revel in just how truly evil they are. Yet, they get away with it because they either have the strength to back it up or can abuse the systems in place to put them in a position where they can. Our official point during each story is generally the person who has suffered or at risk of suffering the most consequences from the villain's plans, which forces them to do bad things. Kobe joins the Alvida Pirates to avoid a vicious head bonking. Nami becomes a thief to save Kokoyashi Village from Arlong, and so forth. It's only when Luffy is introduced that everything makes sense. Freedom is achieved only when you tackle your problem straight on. Moving on, One Piece is a bit of an interesting beast when it comes to power levels. At the time of its release, it was actually bucking the trends of the time by shying away from complicated step-by-step battles that Yu Yu Hakusho and Ryuan Kenshin implemented. Instead, One Piece took a Dragon Ball approach where the battles followed the age-old rule of cool. Whatever is more awesome, impressive-looking attack is the most powerful. This probably seems like an easy cop-out, but this can actually be surprisingly tricky to balance. Having a new villain that is just stronger than the last one gets dull pretty fast. But there needs to be a sense of progression for our hero, or else it can feel like the story's going nowhere. East Blue is really where One Piece hammers down the proper power level scaling by obscuring the actual strength of characters through a few key traits. There are only 3 characters who cause any sort of reasonable threat to the Straw Hat Pirates by their own strength: Buggy the Clown, Arlong, and Mihawk. Alvida, Kuro, and Don Krieg may be able to get a couple hits on Luffy, but the point of these fights is that Luffy overpowers them easily through his own grit and determination. Otherwise, the characters who actually cause a problem all have one of the three main qualities of strength in One Piece: Devil Fruit, Title, and Bounty. Buggy has the Chop Chop Fruit, Mihawk is a Shibukai, and Arlong has the highest bounty in East Blue. What makes these work though is how undefined they are, as they are all dependent on how the story's world judges the character, not the reader. If a character's strength doesn't match up with our expectations, we can blame the world government for setting the character's bounty poorly, or that their devil fruit was a poor matchup against another character. Of the three core traits of strength in One Piece, special emphasis is given to Title. During its introduction with Mihawk, Zoro can't land a single strike, going all out against Mihawk, who just is playing with him. He's just wielding a toy dagger. We get to see this immense power discrepancy that makes Mihawk's title of Shibukai stand out more in our mind, because it's the only time we ever see one of our heroes so handily beaten by someone else. Because of this, we subconsciously ascribe more weight to the title of a character more than their devil fruit or bounty. Let's move on and start talking about what I think this saga foreshadows. Now, more than anything, One Piece is known for its impressive foreshadowing. While we're used to small details getting brought back up 10 years after the fact, there are actually important ways that East Blue sets this up for the reader and the viewer. The most notable example of this is actually a major callback that happens during the Captain Kuro story. We see in Kuro's backstory that he hypnotized Captain Morgan into believing that Morgan actually caught Kuro, which is what led to his eventual arrogance. Not only does this explain Morgan's behavior in the retrospect and provide a richer world view, it also signals something subconsciously in you to remember to pay attention to details. You'll get rewarded for it in the future. Not only that though, but there's also the brief story of how Buggy and Alvida meet up and team up. In the manga, these are known as cover stories, which are one-page illustrations that open up a chapter and tell a story, a short story, over the course of 30 to 40 chapters in the anime. Only Buggy's, Kobe's, and the Straw Hat separation stories are animated, which is a shame, as they serve as important world building. Even though oftentimes the results of these stories often only show up hundreds of chapters later, they set up plot points without having to interrupt the main narrative. The Buggy and Alvida one is especially important, as it's the only one that has a payoff during the same saga it's introduced in. It tells you that it's important to pay attention. To pay attention to these stories too, because they're going to come up again. Now, my final thoughts on this saga is East Blue is important. It's important to One Piece for setting up the basic structure of the story. But there's still so much more. Well, that's gonna do it for the rest of this video. If you guys have any questions, leave a comment down below. Head over to Patreon to support the channel. Other than that, I'll talk to you guys next time. Later!